As flickered flame makes shadows bend, and smoke meets moonlight, cold and blue. When blackest night hails twilight's end, then darkness comes to beckon you. As hunger turns the flesh to fire, and breathing falters, reason halts, then creep the claws of dark desire to rip and split you at your faults. So, Morrow and Thistle, you learn the same thing. Through reports, there was a break-in at Misthaven Sanitarium. A group of undead had their run of the place. Ayana Vidira and a wandering knight named Ser Tristane Brightmorrow did kill all of the undead there, but not before significant loss of life. And Ser Brightmorrow did not survive the night. The champion of Eridan died in the attack.
First thing that Morrow does is take out that little journal that she's been writing notes in that just seems to hang kind of, everyone's got like belts in places. She keeps her mace, she keeps things like, it's just one of the various things that hangs off of the ever-present fantasy leather belt. And the first thing she's going to do is begin to write, starting with the fallen champion, right? Every name of a lost soul that she can find.
Yep. And they were on the plaque, so they are also reported for record. And you can probably find records of the statue being commissioned by the Hall of the Veiled Mother. And I will give you a date for the tragedy itself was 4531. It is currently 4724.
Within Morrow's lifetime, but not necessarily any time recent.
Correct.
And you had said that it was predominantly women's names that were on that plaque.
So the implication is, and Morrow and Thistle, you will read this, the hospital was used mostly for geriatric patients and for maternity patients.
I was just about to ask if it was a
So
maternity
they were the
ward.
ones, yes. So they were the ones who suffered the heaviest losses.
Got it. How does this line up with what Radia told us about her ancestor and the doctor helping?
Sure. So unfortunately, not everybody has all of the information to make some connections. But here's what I'll say. Thistle heard a story about Ayana Vidira marrying Lord Steely, and he died shortly after, and his ex-wife left everything to their son, Audard Vidira. When you saw the painting of Ayana, there was a child, Davrowan. Radia mentioned that she had Davrowan when she was quite young, not much older than Radia and Sinza are at the present time. And then she had her second son, Audard, when she was nearly 50. So Thistle has all of this information. Sinza, you only have that portion of the information. So the Baroness who came to Misthaven and helped Ser Brightmorrow clear the undead menace, that is her. Same
That's
woman.
her. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. And presumably before she had Audard at that point, because the implication seemed to be that she died in childbirth?
You know?
Or was... Okay. Just the verbiage that was used when it was first described to us, when it was like...
Sure.
Necessary, painless. Okay.
I will say, if you are curious, there is a graveyard on site at Veracast.
That was 100% one of my thoughts.
I also think that, what was the name of that church that did the commission? Again, I feel like that would be Morrow's next stop.
That would be the Hall of the Veiled Mother.
And would actually, no, I know how this works. Can I do religion about that?
Yeah, of course.
28. Let me roll
28,
this.
okay.
Damn.
So Phrasma has 3 areas of concern: birth, death, and prophecy. She is sometimes depicted as a mother, not often. She has presumably a daughter, Atropos, although they're probably not blood related. It's more of a, adopted this creature to be her spiritual daughter. Some gods do reproduce. The veils are a old tradition in Ustalav where if you're going to be on holy ground, particularly where there are bodies buried, it is polite to veil yourself so that you do not display signs of sorrow, because the cycle of life and death is natural, necessary, and holy. It is unbecoming of one to be sad about something that is natural. That is a very old-fashioned way of worship, and certainly much closer to, a time in Ustalavi history where living was quite brutal, living under an undead regime. So to be liberated from this mortal coil was a consummation devoutly to be wished. It's certainly not the prevailing tradition now. Mourning is much more commonplace, much more open, but it is an old way of worship.
Before I move on, is there anything in the research that, given Morrow's, for lack of a better term, intimate familiarity with the doctor, his practices, and medical practices in general, specifically around this time period, as she was alive and an adult, is there any information that you feel she would look closer at before I, the player, move on?
There, perhaps surprisingly, there really wasn't anything in particular about Misthaven, its founding or its running, that seemed to focus on death or undead. It really was just a hospital for treating illnesses and ailments, for hospice care, and of course for birth. So it's really not, there really doesn't seem to be a correlation, except for the fact that this was an attack by undead creatures. That's about it.
Okay. So it's not necessarily, there's a stutter. Not necessarily that there's a connection that stand out, but there is a noticeable absence of connection.
Essentially, yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I think she is going to pull a thin cloth out of, maybe it's a larger handkerchief or whatever, hand it to Thistle and say, "You may need this. I'm not sure when the customs were updated, but well, Thistle dear, it may be time to go to church."
I knew I'd be stuck there eventually.
So here's what I'll say about this, because I want you guys to be able to get back together, so I don't want to belabor the point too much. When you go to the Hall of the Veiled Mother, there is a very large mausoleum-style graveyard, because they're so close to the river, and you notice this too in the family graveyard when you go there. People aren't really buried below the ground, they're buried above. The hall itself is quite large, it is grand, it looks like it's been built up several times. the longer you live as an elf, you start to notice those little things. Oh, the changes in the foundation are like this level is one kind of brick, and then this level is another kind of brick.
Oh, I
So
remember
it's
that
been
century. That was a good century.
exactly. So it's been built and built and built over time. When you go there, everybody is very polite. The acolytes are knowledgeable, quick to talk to you. And you talk to Bishop Olamon. The impression that you get from Olamon is one of complacency.
Okay.
He'll answer any questions that you have, but he's just like, church is old. It's about 700-ish years old. Started off as more of a chapel, and then just grew and grew. We have a great congregation here, and he the only thing that sort of rouses him from this very sort of mundane way of speaking about things is the upcoming festival, the Farast Festival, which is coming in a few weeks now, and he's so excited. He'll talk forever about the different festivities that are planned and all the things that happen, and I loved when we did this 3 years ago. So Moro, as you are talking to Bishop Olamon, something you realize is that not every this is true across Galarian. Not every religious person is like a leveled person. Not every religious person is a cleric. There are certain things that they can do equal to you, potentially of your level, but there's a lot of things that they can't. So while this guy absolutely is a bishop and a spiritual authority, he's not like a heavy hitter kind of guy. Like he's just like a guy. He maybe can do first level. That's about it. His connection to the divine is certainly not as strong as yours. So if there's any specific questions that you have for him, you absolutely can ask.
At this point, I don't think she's necessarily trying to interrogate anybody. She and Thistle, she and then Thistle's also there, I guess, kind of, at this point. You don't strike me as religious. Unless that religion...
I grew up in a cult! I know about religions!
But she's trying to kind of get the feel for what the culture of this specific religion is.
Mm-hmm.
While going in under the guise of basically what happened the last time, assuming like 20 minutes to an hour, which was I was looking at some public records. I saw that this happened and your organization made a substantial donation in commemorance, and I would like to come pay my respects at your location for those who lost their lives. While kind of just trying to see what these people are about. Sure.
And he'll acknowledge, great tragedy. Well before my time, of course. But the undead menace we don't really seem to deal with too much here. We walk the grounds, we do our consecrations, and keep up the wards so that no little nasties make their way out of their little mansions. But other than that, no, it's not really a problem for us. Not anymore, anyway.
When he says nasties out of their little mansions, specifically, would that strike her as weird?
Not really. It's a little bit chill. It's chill vibes. But essentially because souls are grown. So when you channel vital energy, Moro, you are pulling vital energy out of creation's forge to heal. That is not the same as a soul. Souls are grown in creation's forge, and when they are fully ripe, they travel and find a mortal vessel. Void energy is different. If you channel void energy, you will heal an undead creature. The void energy that heals an undead creature is 100% the same as the void energy that animates an undead creature. Now, certain undead creatures still do possess some kind of a soul within them. Either it is trapped or fused. There's different things there. So generally intelligent undead, the soul is still in the body, and mindless undead are just piloted by void energy. So because of that, when you have a body just hanging around, if a little bit of void energy comes floating by, it can just straight up animate that body. So one of the charges of churches and of graveyard tenders is to keep wards and magics in place to stop this this resurrection process. Yes. And so the mansions refers to the above ground mausoleums that bodies are stored in.
Okay, so not like a literal insinuation about some of the wealthy elite.
No, not at all.
I think Morrow is kind of just like side glance Thistle as this guy is so casual.
Yeah.
And then just, well, thank you again. And she's gonna kind of grab Thistle's hand and drag her along.
I'm gonna lean in and whisper, "That's why I don't go to church anymore."
So we're back at Veracasti. Time to compare notes. Oh, and before you guys leave, Wick and Caesar, you can put in your request to be reviewed by the board.
Yeah, we do whatever's necessary there. I think Cinza's a little more quiet. Her jaw's a little more strained. I think she knows she's a charismatic individual and doesn't like when it doesn't work in her favor.
I'm very curious what Cinza's reaction was, and if Wick noticed, to kind of like what Derek was trying to accomplish with her.
I think a lot of her thoughts, she knows there are things she's good at, and one of the things she's good at is charisma-based, for, to put it mechanically, charisma-based things. That's the tenet of the class. Her deception's not bad. I mean, it's not her best skill by any means. That's obviously more thaumaturge-based, but she knows she can talk good sometimes. And I had a pretty high roll there, thinking about that mechanically, thinking about how that translates. I think the all-encompassing thought when he started talking about how he does not abide chicanery and that if there were lies being told, they would be revealed. I think just the repeating thought is like, am I made? Did he clock me? Have I been made? Does he know I'm lying right now? And that is, I think, that was unsettling enough that it was distracting.
Yeah. And he really didn't give any indication if he believed you or not. And yeah, you did roll very high. You know that Aoife is sincere. So why was it that he just refused, seemingly, to believe you, to take you at your word? Why was he so fixated on trying to get you to, confess or to break with Emmerich or to get out from under, this spell of I'm just doing my job, All of these things are processing with you.
Mm-hmm. I think that's definitely there's definitely this I think the very next thought as they leave, again, her jaw a little strained, a little frustrated that didn't go, but she's doing her best to keep that practiced. I'm here and I'm respectful and I did my job and whatever, and I'm going to take this loss graciously. I think there is a very distinct thought of, I need to find out what the fuck happened between him and Emmerich. I need Emmerich to level with me on that, because there's clearly some bad blood here. And I think in her head, she's like, that wasn't my fault. This guy still said, I put on my best face, I gave him my best lie, and this guy still said no. That's not on me. That's not my fault. That's Emmerich. I had Wick with me. Wick is the charmingest, cheeriest little guy there ever was. And that lie plus that little guy, are you fucking kidding me? So she's
that lie and looked at that face.
How can you look at that adorable face as he sips tea, that sincere man, and tell me that we don't get to go to the North Wing? But I mean, also, it seems like I pulled out every stop. I even offered to try to help put the spirits to rest. I tried to appeal to his humanity, elf, whatever, about this, and elfanity. And he clearly feels super strong about this, and even that didn't get him. And she's just like, that couldn't have been me. So
at some point, I feel like whenever this thought of I need to get Emmerich to fucking level with me creeps into Scene's mind, somewhere Mara's just like, I feel vindicated and I don't know why.
I think when the lie thing came up, there was just an audible gulp from Wick, because he hates lying and he refuses to lie. He's always about diplomacy and charming, and so he's never actually lied through this. He didn't say, this is an archaeology. He just, so to be accused of being part of a lie is crushing him a little bit.
Sweet baby and his sweet little lies.
Tell me that our baby Wick is lying. Get out of here. Get out of here.
So the four of you convene, and very heavy-hearted, I think, all of you. And before you can talk together, one of the servants says that Odessa, who had moved into the greenhouse to keep away from all of you guys, and she went about mixing up some alchemical cement so that she could start, plug it all up. Odessa would like to talk to you.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Heading straight there.
Yeah.
Right. So as you approach the greenhouse, the door is not open to you to talk. In fact, at the window...
Amazing.
Oh!
There she is.
It's finally
Incredible.
Oh my goodness.
So she is, as you surmised, a middle-aged woman, probably about 45 to 55 years old. You see that her hands, which are also visible, are covered with little nick-like scars all over. She has some face paint that she has put on, and her eyes are like Husky's eyes instead of like human eyes. Good evening, everyone.
Sorry, I don't think any of us expected to see your face, Odessa.
I hope it is not a disappointment.
You are beautiful. Look at you. You're so short.
You are too kind. Yes, if it is in everyone's best interest now that I have secured the greenhouse, that it is best that you not come in anymore. I will leave when I need to, and of course I will be fully covered at that point, but this will give me some ability to breathe, as it were.
Wick, you don't have to prepare liquid food anymore. You could cook Odessa a full meal, just leave it for the greenhouse.
Would be most kind.
Nobody is more excited than me.
Had a suspicion.
It's the little man in his little eyes.
I have to tell you that wearing this mask for a long time, I have gotten very good at reading the faces of others. Was it a bad day?
We had a small setback on procuring the north wing. But the good doctor did mention that we can appeal to the board as they go based on a majority. And while he himself did not wish to grant permission, it sounds like if we can convince the other board members and they outvote him, we will have our entrance.
Yes, it is difficult, but as you mentioned that the keeper was interested in cleansing Gaiter Island, perhaps there are others who are interested in putting spirits to rest at Misthaven.
Cinza kind of throws her hands up in a that's what I said kind of way. I offered that to the doctor and he did not seem to be interested in that, so I can only hope that his peers would be more interested than him.
Perhaps. If I could do this work here, I would, but it is bad enough that I am here at all. I am sure that the servants here
are doing what they are told to do, but my presence itself cannot be a secret. Perhaps that... And she looks down and she says, perhaps that is what has troubled the doctor so. You said that he is close to the Baroness, yes?
Yes, and the thought was not lost on me that perhaps moving into this space was a method of keeping an eye on all of us a little more closely.
I don't know anything about this kind of politics, but I do know that when a new tent goes up in the tribe, everyone is aware of it. I am not a scholar, I am not an archaeologist, and I travel with equipment that reveals what I am before I can confirm or deny it. I am sorry.
One of the things that I brought up to him was soil sampling, and I don't know much about your equipment, but it would appear to me that if we were testing objects for magical potency, that something like what you have might be plausible enough to... I don't know, Wick. I thought it was a pretty good... I thought I took a pretty damn good crack at it. I'm not gonna...
You did wonderful. I thought it went really well. We weren't poisoned. Went fantastic.
Is that why you were, like, with the tea? Like, you were really into the tea at first?
It was... The tea felt a little pushed on us, and it was delicious. I think it was all quite nice. The cardamom buns were just absolutely delicious. I'm going to have to get the recipe.
I agree with that. I think there's this dawning realization that Cinza didn't even consider that they might have been poisoned or given some sort of serum or something, and she's just like, damn.
Morrow is noticeably more quiet ever since reading the name those lost in the tragedy.
I take it that we all know about the history of the sanitarium now.
The Night of Silent Screams.
Want to try to lay them to rest?
There's a part of me that also feels quite sad for the undead, that something so terrible would have happened and they wouldn't be able to control themselves. I think knowing the story puts even more gravity on our work here. It's important work. To give conscience back.
I am curious. It just seems so strange to me that the doctor would be so adamant about, I think as you put it, Wick, locking the door and throwing away the key out of respect for the tragedy that happened, but showed zero interest in putting those souls to rest, to do what I think would largely be considered a good thing. Why is he so stuck in his convictions that he wouldn't even... And why has no one tried over the past almost 2 centuries?
Cinza, dear. Usually when an elf his age fails at something, they don't want to admit there was an attempt even made. Just because he told you doesn't mean that no one has ever tried. It just means that no one has been successful.
Murrow is extremely correct. There are many haunted places in Ustalav that have never been resolved. And that is because anybody who has tried has not been able to do it.
Even still, and I feel like it wouldn't be wild for Cinza to even know that. I think that she's just feeling indignant about the whole situation and is like, well, if he cares so damn much, and he's that old and has these many resources and he's so great, why hasn't he tried? And yeah, the likelihood that he's like, yeah, you could try, but like you, all right, sure. I think that, yeah, it makes a lot more sense. She's just still pissed off that
She's just pissed.
she's pissy right now.
She's pissy. Oh, and that's fair. But I think Morrow is still kind of as someone who has the control issues she has, she doesn't deal with loss of life well, especially for a cleric. I don't think she's going to register that Cinza understands but is just pissy. She's kind of processing through this information herself now. I do think the larger question here is if I'm correct, that Dr. Daedric has attempted it. What could have happened that a caster of his caliber was unsuccessful?
Who's to say?
Doctor seems to have a tremendous amount of guilt over something that was not even in his control. He wasn't even there.
You know that he cares very deeply about Vesperholt, considers it his home. He has taken care of the Vidira family for a long time. And he is a champion. He doesn't really cast spells, actually. Champions don't really, they're not as spell casty as like paladins are. But he's very strong and specializes in destroying the undead. And he wasn't here. Not only was he not here, but there was another champion of Eridan who was here and did get the job done and died in the process.
Cinza, dear, let me ask you a question. If you went out on a mission for Emmerich and returned home to find that someone had broken in, assaulted the Moncriefs, got away with it, how would you feel?
Morrow, I get what you're driving at. He feels guilt. He feels bad. That sucks. Especially for us, right now.
I'm not saying he feels bad, anyone would. I'm saying he's trying to hide what he considers to be one of his biggest failures, regardless of what his true hand of that was.
He told us as much. He clearly feels the intense guilt that he was there and that he wasn't there when he should have been. He felt he made a point to mention that he, as the caretaker of this place, was not there in its time of need.
That is my point. If he's willing to highlight that, how bad does something have to be for him to not mention it? We need to know more about what specifically happened around the time of that tragedy. We need to find out what triggered that undead attack.
That I agree with.
You want to go through the graveyard?
Let's start with the graveyard.
Okay. So, walking through the graveyard, you are going to see the different Vidira throughout time here buried in state. Here are the relevant graves that you guys look at. Baroness Ayana Vidira, so that's the great-great-grandmother of Radia, born 4484, died 4559. Every Vidira has an inscription that goes along with them. Hers is, "Lay down your burdens, Mother Protector." Next, Lord Davrolan Vidira, who would be the great-grand-uncle of Radia. Born 4509, died 4531. Thy beauty never to fade.
So young.
Lord Morrigan Steely, who Thistle heard about, born 4495, died 4535, a knight of great deeds. Baron Audard Vidira, the great-grandfather of Radia, born 4534, died 4610. Our hope renewed. Baron Mishvael Vidira, the grandfather, born 4579, died 4659. Thy strength was our comfort. The newest grave, Baron Rindar Vidira, her father, born 4638, died 4723. Devotion beyond expression. And finally, Lady Madrigan Vidira, who Kolak had mentioned to you, Moro, Mad Maddie Madrigan, born 4674, died 4710, 14 years, as Kolak had mentioned. Beloved mother, rest now.
I think she's going to, as everyone's looking around, just pause a little longer on Maddie's. And it's that moment where you sit there and you realize, like, we hear these stories, but it doesn't really hit that it's people until you're face to face with something a little heavier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What is relevant to you all as you're walking through the graveyard is, Cinza, you and Roddy are the same age. So she was 8 and you were 8 when Madrigan died. This was actually around the same time, I think, that you were given to the Moncriefs, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Rindar, of course, died last year. Audard Vidira, born 4534. His father died 4535. So when he was still a baby.
Yeah.
And Lord Davroan Vidira died 4531. The same year as the Night of Silenced Screams.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing is that Baroness Iana's death year was not the same as Audard's birth year, so we can presume that she did not die in childbirth. It was necessary. There was no Baron
Needed
Vidira.
an heir, yeah.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
So the child was okay, yeah. It was a hot commodity, needed to have one.
I think if Thistle's noticing that Moro is still kind of out of it,
Yeah, no,
I think
she's...
Thistle's hand kind of brushes by Moro's and she goes, Moro, are you alright?
I don't know.
It's okay to feel however you're feeling when dealing with humans and how their lives are truly so short. The impact that they have, the dominoes that fall into the others. We feel the ripple effects of each of these stories.
And I think to
But
drive
they don't
that point home, as she points at each of the coffins, or sarcophagi, or whatever these technically are, each of the monuments, she lists off the wars or cities she was in at each time of death. I've never understood how humans can have such a large impact when they live so short. Well, no time to mourn. And that mask is going to slip right back on. Let's get to research. She pulls out the notebook and just starts writing.
And I think that the other party members kind of see that, like, there's that flash on Thistle's face that really seems to bug her. That Moro can't be comfortable sitting in that feeling. But she very dutifully just kind of shuts up and gets back into academic mode.
I think Sinza has been watching these two, because we're all in close enough proximity to hear what's being said. I think Sinza is watching and just watches these two elves, like, almost clinically detach themselves from a mortal world, talking about mortals as if there aren't two standing right there. There's this look of, like, it's somewhere in the realm of, like, are you guys fucking kidding me right now? It's not, she doesn't say anything. I think she's just got her arms crossed and kind of watching with her head cocked as the two of you, like, wax poetic about the mysterious nature of mortals and their ability to impact the world in such a short period of time. And she's like, on one hand, you guys talk about how you love to observe mortals and all the things they do and they're so cool, but then on the other hand, you're like, we just don't understand them. And she's just got this, like, expression on her face of, like, these fucking guys.
When people talk about something that happened like 180 years ago, for Wick, it's kind of like, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, same. Seems like,
That's
yeah.
so long.
And to us, it was Tuesday.
Yeah. Yeah. The trauma is still fresh.
I think that's also probably a little bit contributing to Sinza's frustrations, is like, again, she's like, that was forever ago, old man, chill out. And he's like, that was not that long ago.
So I'll give you guys a few days. I'm not going to make you roll for it, but there are a few things that you learn. Certainly names, dates, that sort of thing. I'll say you learn the locations of a lot of things, like a map, when these different areas were annexed into Vesperholt. But there really isn't anything that's pinging to you too much. I would say the only things that are interesting, I would say, is that you cannot find any evidence of who Davrowan's father is. There's no documentation.
Weird.
He died hunting in the woods, falling off of his horse. And that was like a week or two after the Night of Silent Scream. So it was just kind of like tragedy upon tragedy. Like, we've lost our beautiful boy. It didn't really even kind of get its own thing. It was just sort of lumped in with this tragedy and with mourning. You learn a little bit. Rindar spent a lot of time outside of the barony. Kolak is happy to tell you a little bit more about Madrigan if you'd like to know. That might not necessarily be in the scope of your inquiries, but he certainly is available as a resource.
Could we have also learned the names of the other board members and, like, a little bit about them, as in, are they all elves, or is there going to be someone a little shorter lived that we might be able to appeal to should we get to talk to them?
So, Inza, you are charismatic, charming. Wick, you are adorable.
That is true.
A dangerous theme.
So there's Dr. Eugenie Potiker, and she is a half elf, and she's originally from Magnamar. There is Dr. Garen Vosk. Eugenie does just like general medicine. She's like the chief of just like normal medicine. There's Dr. Agnetha, who is the chief of surgery. And she is the woman that Darik mentioned when Morrow asked, do you have like a protege or are you mentoring anybody? That was her. And she's also a half-elf, but you learn that she is actually a Dhampir. So one of her parents was a vampire. Hence the waxy pallor to her skin.
That's who came to grab us.
Correct.
Is
Garen
the implication
Voss?
She's also on the board, or no?
Oh, yes. These are the people who are on the board. So there's
Okay,
Dr.
cool.
Darik is the chief of medicine. Agnetha Velstrom is the chief surgeon. Dr. Eugenie Potiker is the chief of general medicine. Garen Vosk is a dwarf. Garen is so hot. He is, I'm sorry.
Doctor of serving looks.
Literally, he's the dwarf. So Garen is in charge of they kept kind of in honor of the North Wing, geriatrics and maternity are the same department at Misthaven, and so Garen is in charge of that. And then there is Dr. Soretto. Dr. Soretto is in charge of the like diseases, like he's the doctor of like chronic conditions and diseases and stuff like that. And he's actually an android, which is pretty fun.
Cool.
So you can definitely take the time to meet all of them. And Caesar, you are absolutely correct that Dr. Potiker, Dr. Vosk, and Dr. Soretto would love for the wing to be cleansed and to move on. And after you all leave, would love to be able to utilize the space, you know, because the hospital is growing. The island, they could start, you know, they can put more rocks in the island, but the problem is if they continue to gunk up the island, then the river is going to continue to get messed up. Like they already, you know, they did what they could, you know, but things rerouted at the time, you know, 300 or so years ago when they built the island out. So to build it out anymore, you know, is risky, especially because the city of Artis, you know, relies on that water. It feeds into the center of the country, so it eventually flows down to Califast too. So that's a problem. And then building up also has its problems. So it solves a lot of problems to be able to go into the North Wing. So yeah, there really isn't an appeal. And true to his word, you know, Cinza, when you're trying to pry, you're trying to tactfully ask, like, have you been, you know, talked to about it? It does not seem that they are being swayed or poisoned by Dr. Derek, which may surprise you because you guys did get the sense from him that he might be this, like, you know, evil vizier character whispering into the ear of the Baron or Baroness, but that doesn't necessarily seem to be the case. It really does just seem to be a matter of being outvoted.
I think that after we speak to these folks and get their opinions, you know, that you said it was Eugenie, Garen, and Agnetha that were the ones that were like, yeah, we'd love that to be reopened.
No, Agnetha, true to her nature as Dr. Derek's mentor, is like, don't get rocks. Yeah, Dr. Soretto is the one who's like, yeah, of course.
Those three, you know, especially after talking to those three, I think Cinza shares with Wick that I'm more convinced than ever that Derek's hang-up is with Emmerich and not necessarily with reopening the wing or his maybe it is his own guilt, but I think that he has some sort of issue with Emmerich that is contributing to that. And I think she only mentions that. I think she only mentions that to Wick since the two of them are kind of on this task.
Sure.
And Wick completely agrees. Oh, I was gonna say Wick completely agrees. He would also probably mention, I think that the doctor, there's a lot of guilt in there too, like that Wick has picked up on, that kind of feel like he wants help but can't ask for help. Like he seemed like pleading. He seemed to want something but wasn't too sure what that want was.
Or
so he's not
know how to ask it.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good point. I think during this period of sort of like nebulous time that we're going through, you know, and taking the time to meet with, I think Cinza does pen a letter specifically to Emmerich that's like basically lays out, look, here's the conversation I had. You know, I know how to get things done. And he is just completely, like, the vibe I'm picking up is that he is not your biggest fan. I need insight here. And I think she's very direct about it. Without accusing Emmerich of anything, she's basically like, I need insight into how to navigate this conversation. So if there's anything you know that you haven't told me about your previous dealings with the doctor, that would help me get this done. And I know that you want, like, the ends will justify the means here if I can sort this out.
Absolutely. All right. So we are going to go ahead and move to when your contact arrives along with the mining crew. This will be the same day that you're actually going to go into the North Wing to cleanse it. As you can imagine, they do not want this happening during the day, much as Wick may want there to be a bright, sunny sky above you. No, this is going to happen at night so as not to disrupt the goings-on of the hospital. But Before then, you are going to meet with the contact. You head to the Journey Halt Inn and head to the dock. Walking up to the docks, you see a large, flat-bottomed boat. Though not as fancy as a river yacht, the vessel doesn't look like it's meant to be lived on. And you see walking out of the area, there are 5 dwarven figures, and they are all Hrengar, which is the Pathfinder version of Dwergar. They are deep dwarves. So as you can imagine, dealing with a mineral that comes from the Darklands, having people who come from the Darklands to be able to mine it, it's like, oh, of course, it makes complete sense.
I already know how this works.
Exactly. And striding down the dock to meet you is this lady. She is not quite as tall as Cinza, but seems to be about the same age, in leather armors, with a sword strapped on. Oh yeah? Hello. Detective Mari Trusong. Think we might have something in common, don't we? And she winks.
Other than the swords, the height, the charming nature, or...
How about the employer?
I figured. You probably already know, but Cinza sticks out a handshake.
Yeah, I had you pegged. How are you?
I've seen better days, but can't complain too much. I take it you already know, and just kind of gestures, jerks a thumb towards everybody else.
Well, I gotta
know
say,
of.
you gotta match your dossiers. If you're trying to pull a fest one, you might want to consider a disguise or two, but glad you didn't try to pull it with me. I don't like tricks. Detective Mari Trusong. Nice to meet you.
Oh, Venturi. And to you. So, where should we start?
Well, come aboard. We can talk in private. And as you approach the boat, you see in the window a very large spider looking down at you guys. Don't mind them. They come with the crew. Very sensitive to vibrations, they are. Mining technique.
Oh, like, okay, yeah, see.
Stay
Yeah,
it.
clever. Well, I was going to say pet, but that's not what... I was going to give them
canary
equal
in a coal
footing.
mine. You disappointed me already. I just got here.
Well, I didn't want to... I think she looks up at the spiders, not really sure how, like, sentient they are, you know, or, like, not sentient, but how, what their intelligence score is, basically.
Yeah. As an animal companion, they do have elevated
so she's
intelligence. This is the foreman's specifically spider.
I didn't want to insult anybody. And she gestures towards one of the spiders.
Yeah. No love lost. All right. So,
Just curiosity. You've worked with Emmerich a while. We've worked with Emmerich a while. He doesn't often give a lot of future information sometimes. A little surprised to detective.
No, hired out. Contract came through the Sleepers Detective Agency in Freshmore, and I took the job.
So not a detective, just part of the appellation, not necessarily specific to this job then.
Well, if we're going to do something sneaky, hire somebody who knows how to suss out a sneak, wouldn't you say?
That's usually what we say with this one, and points to Wick.
No, I've been briefed. Your dossier was heavy. So what's on the island now? Any resources, potable water, food, wildlife? What do we got?
Fishing around here is impeccable.
Lovely. I meant sky tear, dear.
Oh, right.
Well,
I don't think it's been long enough since we messed with the sight for wildlife to start making its way back, but
Yeah.
stranger things have happened.
The island was rather affected by some very powerful curses. We did have to remove those, and we have successfully removed those.
How many days ago was that?
It should be in my
So-
report to Emmerich. And she pulls out a copy and thumbs through it because she does keep copies of everything and point.
All right. Thought maybe you'd maybe inflate your numbers or made yourselves look more efficient. I didn't assume, but just wanted to know. Between friends?
No, if there's anything you need to know about Moro, she's thorough.
Between friends, of course. No need to
So,
use your numbers when you're good at your job.
true words. All right. So, then it's day and a half travel to Skyte? Yeah, and back.
Roughly, yes.
What do the locals know?
We found one that has told us a thing or two, but for the most part they seem very superstitious and unwilling to talk about it.
Superstition. I like that. We can use it. Now, what about the mercenary crew who's doing the garden? Did you get that sorted?
It's gonna kind of side glance at Cinza for this one.
Was that something we were tasked with? Did we do that in downtime? Is what I'm asking.
You can if you wanted to. Yes, you guys did leave the island, just left it. So, but Emmerich did tell you guys to hire a crew and did leave a fund for you. So I will not do a gotcha, of course.
Okay. Yeah.
So you can tell Mari that there already are mercenaries on the island guarding it. That's totally fine.
I think we would have hired folks. Yeah, we would have completed that part. Yeah, we'll attest to that.
Right. And this lazarite, where's it going? And how's it going?
Working on that.
That's
For the time
yet to be
being.
determined.
Yeah. For the time being, I think if we can store it, prepped, ready to be shipped, while we work on securing the laboratory, it's proving to be a little more finicky than we had initially expected. Then once we have that secured, we can load up ships and send it to the dock that we should be procuring.
She smiles a little and says, well, is anything I know about this part of the world full of surprises? Twists and turns. Secrets. You take all the time you need. It's gonna take about a week to get some good lazarite out. It's a long process, and if you don't do it right, they were tucking my ear off on the way here. It disrupts. You don't cut the marrow stone just right, all the lazarite falls out like a broken hourglass. So you have time.
Understood.
And I don't know necessarily if you think that Radia knows anything, but when she says it's going to take a long time just to get the lazarite out of the ground, suddenly it's dawning on all of you, oh, if it takes a week to get like one piece, how long are we actually going to be here?
There a part where
Yeah.
a contract is over, or like, what are we doing?
What are we doing here?
Did we
Yeah.
just get sent off for a much longer mission than any of us really
Just
signed
get
up for?
suckered. We can't
Yeah.
have just gotten suckered.
Oh, I think she just, under her breath, kind of breathes out, how did she know? Just in reference
Okay,
to
so you
Radia
are-
saying.
You are assuming. Okay. Well,
Yeah. Well, I think at the very
Um,
least is just how did she know we'd be here for a long time? That's just a really weird coincidence.
yeah. So Mari and the crew come in to stretch their legs, get some food. And Kolak looks at you, Cinza, and smiles and talks to you off to the side a little bit. You Hungry?
I could eat, sure.
I was just thinking if you maybe wanted to take a walk by the cemetery before. You might regret it if you let the night go by.
Well, you've been an ever knowledgeable and consummate host, and who would I be to refuse your suggestions?
Okay. So, Cinza, do you extricate? Do you just leave, or do you extricate yourself from the group? You guys are all meeting up tonight to do cleansing the Misthaven Sanitarium.
Yes. I think she grabs whoever she sees first. Probably like. Actually, I think she specifically tries to grab Wick because she doesn't want to get involved in a conversation about what's and why. She feels like Wick will probably be the one to be like, okay, cool. And she just, Wick, Kolak wants to chat with me for a moment, and I'm going to take him up on that because he is a very knowledgeable person, and any help we can get seems reasonable. So, don't start without me, and just let the others know where I've gone.
All right, bye. Have fun.
Right on the fucking
My man.
money there.
Yeah,
Perfect.
she just looks at him, my man, and she walks away. Okay, she will go. I mean, he's pointing her in that direction. She'll go check it out.
Great. And it occurs to you immediately, at least partially why Kolak has said this. You see the Vidira carriage parked outside. Entering the cemetery, mist swirls around the wrought iron fences tipped with leaf-shaped spearheads, beautiful and lethal. Within the cemetery grounds, the mansions of the dead line orderly walking paths, an eclectic mix of high Pharasman, Osirian, and modest brick and plaster designs. The more ornate resting places feature golden plaques, marble busts, and ornately carved benches for mourners to sit and pay respects. Ravens gather in small covens and warble to each other, too respectful to caw loud enough to pierce the peace. Turning a corner, you see her lithe figure clad in black, as you expected, lace-gloved hands folded in her lap, and a lacy veil covering her hair and face, an old tradition meant to hide tears, for to show one's pain in the face of death is an insult to the Lady of Graves. A few steps away, a footman attends her patiently. As you approach, he nods his head and leaves you in privacy. The grave she sits opposite has no name. Lush green ivy vines creeping and pulling at the crumbling white plaster, exposing the bricks beneath. On the door, there is a brass plaque, its brilliance lost with time, except over a few words of its inscription, which you assume have been touched many times, keeping them lustrous. A word unspoken, a vow unbroken, a love forbidden, a parting unbidden, a dreamer awoken, an ending unwritten.